joining us. Welcome everybody in the studio. Good afternoon. Thank you all for coming inside. Such a beautiful day. Um, we'll get started on our backs as many of you already are on the ground. Leslie, at home, you're welcome to begin on your back. And we'll go through a nice, well-rounded practice. We'll get into a little bit of everything. We'll look through a bunch of different joint rotation. I'm kind of been being directed by a lot of you recently to look at things in the shoulders and the neck a little bit more closely. So we'll do some particular things for the upper back, shoulders, neck, and that whole region. But again, a nice, well-rounded practice this afternoon. So thank you for joining us. We'll start on our backs in what we call the crooked corpse pose. So the knees are leaning together, and you can separate the feet so that that's as comfortable as possible. The legs in 3 dimensions are in a kind of pyramid shape. So the distance from your heels to your hips is also something to consider. And as the name suggests, the crooked corpse pose, the arms can lay flat, palms facing upwards, and the shoulders relaxed here. And this is actually a really nice place to start as we consider what the shoulders and the neck and the head are all about. But we'll just take a moment to breathe before we get into the details. So as you inhale and exhale, we try to breathe through the nose. But of course, if you need to breathe through your lips, kind of supplementary fashion, that's okay. Try to breathe through both. If you're well practiced, you might notice if you're breathing through both of your nostrils, or maybe you're just breathing through one nostril. And it's normal that we would be breathing more through one side than the other, but it happens sometimes we're breathing exclusively on one, and we want to notice that. So gradually, little by little, we can breathe through both nostrils. The next time that you breathe in, gently spread your fingers and open your palms. And while you're exhaling, curl your fingers into fists, combining the movement with your breath, squeezing tightly as you exhale all the way. And when you're ready to breathe in again, just opening your hands, spreading the fingers, uncurling the knuckles, little by little, and then gradually bringing them back into fists. So it's natural and good that we're all breathing in sort of different paces. So, as you're moving your hands with your breath, it would be something else if we were always exactly in time with each other. So let yourself travel at your own pace. And from here on out, throughout the rest of the practice, always take an extra beat to wait for your breath to help you move. And sometimes I give you the cue, and the impulse is to respond right away to the action that you're meant to perform, or that I'm guiding you into. So give yourself time to wait and follow, feel the assistance of your breath. If you're still moving your hands, let the last thing you do be the inhalation, the opening of your fingers, the opening of your palms. And afterwards, you can just relax and notice your hands. You might even say to yourself mentally, that's what my hands feel like, or that's what my fingers feel like. There's kind of a little tingle, maybe a little buzz, or just the awareness left over that you were just moving those fingers and palms. Action to the wrists. We're going to slide the arms a little bit more directly out from the shoulders into a T position. So reaching out from the chest, you can spread the fingers and press the backs of your hands into the floor. Try to straighten your elbows a little bit so you feel that there's a little bit of necessary effort from the shoulders, the chest. Carefully bring some strength between the shoulder blades, trying to squeeze them together. That's going to cause the ribs to lift a little bit, the chest to pop up, and we want to be careful the lower back, but it should feel pretty well supported. And give it just one more breath with that extra extension through the arms. Get a little bit of pressure through the backs of your hands into the floor, like you could widen your expanse. And then we'll relax that effort and let the head roll side to side. And as you put your head in motion, relaxing the effort to the neck and the shoulders, keep your lips together. Let your chin shift around. And maybe as you're rolling your head from one side to the other, you slow it down so that you can turn a little bit farther to the right when you get there, and just a little bit farther to the left when you get there. And we'll turn the head just one more time each way. Take it slow to return to the middle. And when you do arrive in the center, take that extra breath just to notice you were just moving your head and your neck. And even though it was kind of a localized action, it has an influence on the rest of the spine all the way down to the hips. And we'll try to feel a little bit of that influence as we put the legs in motion. Tip your knees to the right side, just leaning a foot or so, and then bring them back to the center. And passing through the middle, keep your feet wide as your knees pass to the left. And then we'll come up and over. We'll go from one side to the other, just that windshield wiper action. And just like you were doing with your head, you can go a little bit farther each side, each time you pass to the right and each time you pass to the left. Feel slow motion through the hips and the lower back, a little bit of action to the ankles, the toes. When you move your knees to the right again, you can turn your head slowly to the left. When you move your knees to the left, you can turn your head slowly to the right. And we'll do just one more time, and then we'll add some of our bells and whistles. So the next time you have your knees to the right side, we'll let them hang out over there. For a moment, try to move your left thigh closer to the ground, like you want to bring the inside of your knee toward the floor. And while you're attempting to make that happen, think of that same left knee reaching a little bit further forward. So the left side of your hip and the lower back, just put a little bit more length. And now back off of that effort. If you'd like, you can take your right foot off the floor and hook your right ankle on top of your left thigh. It is important to get that ankle bone a little bit past the thigh bones, the lower legs. You could then circle your arms overhead if you want a little bit more and grab hold of your left wrist. And all of this is playing at the extension of your breath, trying to reach the ribs a little bit longer from the waist, the hips a little bit further away from the shoulders. And again, you could think of both of your knees, both of your thigh bones, trying to extend forward in space. Give it just one more breath. Feel the movement to the rib cage and to the side body. Release your left arm. You can bend your elbows, just let them slide a little bit to the side, kind of that goddess pose with the elbows bent. Your right ankle is going to go slowly to the floor as well. And once that right foot touches the ground, we'll move the knees up and find the center. So try to return to your original position for a moment, the feet wide, the knees touching, and you're able to line everything up with your belly button. And then we're going to take both of the knees over to the left, and we'll go through some of the same steps. So pause a moment, think of that right thigh, trying to move just a little bit closer to the floor, the inner knee as if it could touch the ground, or the left heel, depending on proximity there. You can always check in with me if you're unsure. Your left ankle is going to go onto that right thigh. So you're using that left leg as a kind of paperweight, helping that right leg to go a little bit closer to the floor. And here we want to let the lower back arch. So we don't want to resist with any kind of tucking of the tail. In fact, you could give a little bit more to that back bend if it feels okay. Arms overhead, grabbing hold of the right arm, that right wrist, and extending a little bit further back in the opposite direction. You might even find a little bit of a crescent moon arc over to your left. And from the inside out, we propel the length from the breath, each inhalation through the lungs and the ribs, expanding that whole right side arc. And releasing in reverse order, we let go of that right wrist. Carefully move your left foot to the floor. And then raising the knees to find the center. The feet are flat. Walking your feet in closer and closer together until they touch. Separate your knees. We're going to find that butterfly position, Baddha Konasana. Now let's take the arms straight up overhead for just a second, reaching straight toward the ceiling. And as you look at your hands, just give the wrists a little twirl. You can wiggle the fingers a little bit. And then relaxing that action and lowering the arms next to your body, your hands underneath your thighs, the palms supporting the thighs from below. Your elbows can push into the floor to kind of prop the hands up into the thighs. And now with that little added support, press your heels together and clamp the toes together. And once you've got the heels and the toes clamping together, squeeze the buttocks, really firm the muscles in the gluteus. Good. And once you've got all that active, you can probably move your hands away. And some of you might take your hands to your inner thighs, offering a little bit of pressure downward, right? That a little bit goes a long way there, of course. And you could take your arms overhead if you wanted a deeper stretch, the arms reaching alongside your ears. In every case, keep the buttocks strong and try to add a little bit of pressure to the pelvis. Feel as though you could arch your lower back. Give a little bit of a squeeze between the shoulder blades to lift the ribs. Keep your shoulders and your head on the floor and just breathing here. Now, in the same way you're putting pressure to your pelvis, you could put a little bit of pressure onto the back of your head. Just 2 more breaths in your time, pressing into the heels. Feel as though you could really expand the abdomen, the lungs in all directions. Special attention to the solar plexus, that upper abdomen region. As we get ready to exit the pose, the hands can come down to the thighs, using them to scoop the legs up again and bringing the knees together and standing the feet flat for just a moment. And slide the heels a little bit apart and closer to your bottom, preparing for the bridge pose foundation. So the feet are flat and more or less parallel, like the number 11. Your elbows next to your body, bent in that 90-degree position we like to call the robot style. And then pressing down in the heels, down in the elbows, will raise the hips slowly into the air. Notice the strength coming from your legs, and then the strength coming from your arms and your shoulders. You might rock a little bit side to side to wedge the arms underneath you. The shoulder blades again could come closer together. Some of you might move your chin a little bit side to side to get more length to your neck, or even lift your head up and then apply some pressure on the back of your head again. Give it 2 more breaths. Really drive the elbows and the backs of the arms into the floor. Press deep into the heels. You could even press the feet, the toes, and the ball mounts into the floor. Give it 1 more full breath in. And we'll use our exhalation to lower down, slow and steady. Once you've got your hips on the floor, please straighten your legs one after another. Lower your hands flat to the ground next to your thighs. So here we want the arms to be as straight as can be, the palms flat, and you might even tuck your thumbs a little bit underneath your thighs. Flexing the ankles really strong, pushing forward through the heels. And then go the opposite direction, point your toes, making firm fists with your feet. And then we'll go back to the flexed position, pressing through the heels and spreading the toes. 1 more time, make your feet into fists, squeeze the toes in tightly. And then we'll go back to that flexed position, and there we'll stay. So trying to spread the pinky toes, it helps to spread the fingers when you're trying to activate the toes. It's a deep connection, I think, through the body. The right leg is going to lift straight up into the air. And as you raise that leg closer to 90 degrees, feel free to bend your knee. Take a deep breath in. On the exhalation, we'll lower the right leg slow and steady back to the floor. Once it touches down, we'll lift the left leg. Inhaling now on the way up. And when it reaches that peak position for your body, you can bend your knee. And then the exhalation will bring you right back down to the ground. Now, we're going to continue to alternate right and left. Inhale on the lifting all the way up. Exhale on the lowering all the way down. Now, as we continue to alternate left and right, stay with the rhythm of your breath. Keep that pressure to your pelvis so your hips are an anchor for the movement of your legs. We could think like we're going for a walk around the block, just taking a really big stride. So when we're walking, the leg that steps forward is the lifting leg, and the push-off foot, in this case, would be your bottom leg. So in some ways, that bottom leg has a bigger part to play as the push-off leg, allowing that other leg to step forward at any given time, or lift at any given time. You say, I hear that, but how many more are we going to do? And just one more set on each side, right and left. And we like to feel like we could continue this action as if we were walking, right? Most of us, we can go for that walk around the block pretty easily. So, how many steps would that be? When you're finished with the left leg, step the feet back in for your bridge pose. Bending your knees, your feet are flat, those robot-styled arms, just to get us started. I'll give you an option once we're in the air. Pressing into the heels, pressing into the elbows. And again, raise the hips up strong. You can give a little bit of a squeeze with the buttocks. Now here, you can take your arms straight underneath you, interlacing the fingers like you're making a single fist, or hooking your thumbs together like you're making one of those shadow birds with the flashlight and whatnot. Rock the arms a little bit underneath your body. The shoulder blades can squeeze together. Feel that strength to the upper back, not over flexing, but just that you're able to bolster the ribs, lift the heart with those shoulder blades. 2 more breaths if you can. Try to keep the thighs parallel. We recognize the knees have that tendency to drift apart, so rein them in. And 1 more big breath in, pressing into the heels. We'll use our exhalation to lower down slow and steady. Make sure to release the hands, clear the way to the floor. It's beautiful, you all. Let's bring the hands to the thigh bones. Walk your feet all the way together. Now we're going to combine a few things here. So keep your left foot flat. Tilt your right knee open to the side and down to the floor. You're going to come back and make those robot style arms. And again, you can always check in with me if you're unsure. As you push down in your elbows, push into your left foot and squeeze the buttocks. Raise both of your hips off the floor. Now, the challenge here is that we're trying to keep the right knee on the ground, the whole length of that right shin, trying to stay on the floor. Give it 1 more breath in. And when you exhale, you're going to lower down slow and steady. That right hip will touch first. Use your right hand to scoop up your right thigh. Put the right foot flat and the knees kind of tap for a second. And then the left thigh tilts open to the floor. So take a second and get your bearings here. The feet are still very close together. Your elbows are going to press down into the floor and raise both hips. Squeeze both sides of the glutes. Again, trying to keep your left knee on the floor takes a particular effort. Let your hips go sideways, up, and away toward where the wall meets the ceiling. Deep breath in as you push into that left elbow especially, and lowering down carefully as you exhale. Switching again, the left knee is going to come up. The right knee is going to tip open, just a little domino tap. Press into that left foot to raise the hips, press into both heels. We'll lift into that sideways bridge. So again, do your best to keep that right knee close as you can to the ground, if not touching. Hips lower down, and we'll switch again. Your right hand could scoop up your knee, tap the knees together. The left knee falls open carefully. Elbows press, the left one in particular, keeping the hips strong. Big breath in. Exhale, we'll lower the hips. Let's go 1 more time each side. Whenever you're ready to lift your hips, let that be your inhalation. Really dig into the elbows, squeeze the shoulder blades. Use your exhalation to lower the hips. And we'll just do one more time. These are beautiful, you all. This sideways bridge pose. One last time to the left, squeezing through, opening up through the front of the hips. When you're finished, return to the center, knees close together, and then bring them up into your chest. Head towards your knees, and we're just going to rock a little bit side to side, grabbing the shins if that's easier, backs of the thighs, whatever makes sense for you. Feel here your lower back quite flat to the floor, really decidedly so. We'll come back to the center. Let's all grab the backs of the thighs so we can straighten and bend the knees a few times. We'll just go up and down in slow motion. Point your toes, really strong fists with the feet, just to feel that the arches can be active. And sometimes that causes the arches to cramp. So we'll pause for just a second with the feet flexed. And hopefully that relieves any of that cramping sensation. Now kick your feet overhead, bend your knees quickly to catch a little momentum, and you can pull yourself upwards. And sometimes it takes a couple tries to get all the way up to sitting. We are going to sit with the ankles crossed. So give it just a moment here, holding on to the knees. You can always put a blanket or such underneath the hips, but for the most part, as we fold forward, we don't want to be too high. Use the arms to draw the heart forward and lift your chin. Give it a full breath as you look up. Your exhalation will fold you forward. We'll take the hands down to the ground and use them for support as we fold. So depending how the lower back, the hips, the ankles, the knees are responding, giving more or less support with the arms. Let your head hang. Relax your jaw. Once again, we can use the breath from the inside out, taking advantage of the expansion from the lungs to the abdomen to the hips and the lower back. Each time you breathe in, imagine those muscles and organs all receiving a beautiful massage from the breath. Each time you exhale, releasing tensions. And very carefully, we're going to rise. Use the arms to help you when you're ready. The inhalation can give you a boost as well. And then we'll take the hands for some support behind us, switching the way the ankles are crossed. And if you don't often do this, it can feel really funny. So don't be alarmed. The hands to the knees, the chest forward, and the chin rising. Big breath in. And folding on your exhalation, your hands to the floor, walking it down nice and easy. Taking your head toward the ground. And then once again, as you breathe, and think of that inner expansion as a loving massage, both to the muscles, the organs, even to your bones. We can think of our inhalations as providing the length to the structure of the spine. And so even though we're rounded a little bit in our fold, still trying to elongate and keep the chest open. Now, very carefully, once again, we'll rise. Let the hands help you, the arms support you. And we'll take the legs straight out in front for a moment. So again, leaning back onto your hands and extending the legs, pointing and flexing. We'll go back and forth through the feet. And holding for a moment with the feet flexed, slide your heels together and turn your toes out. Good. And then bring your toes together, slide the heels apart. And for that, you might actually have to physically move the heels apart. It's almost like you're trying to get the big toes to the floor. Good. And then come back to neutral, turn the toes as far out as they'll go. Now with the heels a little bit wider, bend your knees. It's like you just got off a horse. And notice that it's really difficult to bring your thighs to the ground when you do this, right? When the knees are bent. So straighten your legs and see if you can turn your feet just a little farther. I don't know if it's easier. What do you think? Both are hard, right? Okay, we'll bring the feet back. Good. You tuck the feet to one side. We're going to move to hands and knees. And I'll try to make that make sense in just a second why we did that. As we move on to all fours, feel free to give yourself some padding, a little cushion beneath the knees. Likewise, traditionally the hands are at a right angle here underneath the chest, but be kind to the wrists. You can step them a little bit out in front, giving yourself a little bit more space to work with here. Cow pose, we're going to look forward. Let the tail feathers tilt up into the air. Take a deep breath in. As you exhale, moving the hips in the opposite direction to tuck under, rounding the back, bring the chin to the chest. And we'll go back and forth with the breath. So the inhalation to move into the cow pose, long and sort of dipping spine. The exhalation rounding like that Halloween cat, kind of that spiky spine, reaching up toward the ceiling. And as you find the connection to your breathing, that really becomes the primary purpose of this movement, is that we can link so precisely the breath to the movement, because the spine moves this way naturally each time you breathe. And we're just kind of adding our our participation to what's going on anyway. The next time that you have your head lifted, we'll pause, finding that cow pose. Walk your knees backwards, and we'll lower down slowly to the hips. So as you set your body to the floor, walk the arms forward. Prop yourself up on your elbows for just a second so we can focus on the feet. You don't have to have the elbows right underneath you, because sometimes that puts a lot of pressure in the shoulders. Stepping them forward can relieve a little bit of that tension. And make sure you can breathe, of course. There's a little bit of pressure on the abdomen, so the solar plexus might feel a little tender, just a heads up there. Good. Toes pointed, pressing the tops of your feet into the floor, but not too much, making sure that you can rock your heels side to side. So we were just doing something similar on our back, or sitting down, right? So we're going to pause in the center, bring your big toes together, and try to pull your heels apart as far as they'll go. So as you slide the heels apart and the big toes are touching, keep your knees really straight and think like you want to turn your knees to face each other. And that's tricky enough to do. But make sure that you're breathing. Now we're going to bring the heels all the way together and turn the toes out. Now you could additionally flex your feet. So sometimes the toes are pointed and the toes are turning out. If you flex your ankles, you're being really active back through the heels, and that makes things considerably more difficult. The knees are trying to turn to face away from each other. And you're like, yeah, I got it, Thomas. We're take one more breath here. And then we'll relax the effort to bring the legs back to neutral. Slide your elbows out to the side, make a little pillow with your wrists for your forehead. And when you get your forehead on your wrists, bend both of your knees. Bring your heels toward your tush and circle around with your ankles. And as you get your ankles in motion, you can wiggle your toes, of course. And wiggling your toes, reversing the circle of your ankles. And if you pay close attention to what your ankles are doing, they're often going in opposite directions from each other. And I just think that's the coolest. And you don't really have to think about it when you reverse them. They both change. You just say reverse and they go and they do it. I mean, it's far out. All right, relax your toes, relax your ankles, swing your calves a little bit side to side. And with the lower legs in motion, of course, we're setting a whole chain of events, going from the knees to the thigh bones to the hips and the lower back. You're welcome to lift your head and use the arms to prop the chest up here. We don't want to lift the head so much that we're pinching anything in the back of the neck. Always keep the length to the neck, room to breathe in the windpipe. With your legs still in motion, you can push the front of your thighs into the floor. And we want to be cautious of the lower back, because as you push the thighs down, the hips pop up and the lower back arches a lot more. So caution there, but for some of you, I think it might feel awesome. And if you keep that pressure, you'll notice that there's pressure now to the inner thighs and the outer thighs, right? And there's a particular strength from the groin muscles and the outer hips that we find that is really useful, but uncommon. So let's come back to the center and we'll lower the feet. Rest your head carefully on your wrists. And again, just notice the leftover feeling from the motion. Place all your focus, your attention in your lower back, and then expand it a little bit to include your hips. Zoom out a little farther to incorporate that feeling of your shoulders. And we're going to move slowly onto hands and knees. So first raise your head, slide your hands back one at a time near the ribs, and think about pushing the floor away. As you lift up onto all fours, we'll come back to our cat and cow. I always find this tremendously revealing. So as you round and squeeze the muscles to the front of your body, just observe the sensation to the ribs and the chest and all the rest. Yeah, there's a lot going on. And then we come forward into cow pose. Deep breath in as you open things up again. So we'll go back and forth just a few times, getting a little bit more bold with your hands, keeping the strength to the palms, pressing into the floor throughout both movements. Cat and cow, we don't change anything about the knuckles if possible. We'll go through just one more cycle. And again, when we meet in cow pose, we'll look forward, step the hands a little bit forward, curl the toes underneath, and then we'll make our way to downward facing dog, lifting the knees, lifting the hips. And to take your time as you rise up, a moment here to pedal the feet in place, make any adjustments for your hands. I'm in full favor of separating the feet a little bit as long as we keep them parallel. One advantage to keeping the feet closer together is that you can really measure that parallel lines front and back from toes to heels. But if you separate the feet, just make sure you stay somewhat true to that relationship. And we're going to shift forward into our plank pose, gliding steady and holding a moment. Often the feet will need to shift back a little bit as you feel that balanced pressure to the hands. Now, keeping the legs straight, keeping the hands and feet exactly where they are, raise up to your downward facing dog, hips back and into the sky. Lift your heels a little bit higher and bend your knees like you wanted to blend chair pose with your downward dog. Moving your chest a little bit closer to your thighs, raise your hips a little higher to that mountain peak. Feel the strength and the power in the feet. Straighten your legs and shift forward into plank pose. Hold your plank pose for a moment. Look out in front of you on the floor beyond your fingers. Take a deep breath in. Return to your downward dog. We're going to lift the hips and bend the knees. Lift your heels and find that chair pose. Kind of that squat position in your legs feels almost like you could jump forward. We're not going to, at least not yet anyway. Come forward to your plank pose. Straightening the legs, looking forward, take a full breath in. Start by bending your knees and move your butt back in space, hips to your downward facing dog. You can straighten your legs and press into the heels. And we're going to find a side plank variation. So please shift forward to your plank, lower your right knee to the ground. Swing your calf out to the side, turn your left foot flat to the floor. Make your right hand into a fist and punch into the ground. The knuckles kind of line up parallel with the edge of your mat. Your left hand is going to lift up to your hip. If you don't like that fist position, you can always go back to a flat palm. You could take your hand to a block, your left arm up into the sky, and tracing some figure eights on the ceiling, moving that left arm in a kind of skywriting fashion. Doesn't have to trace that perfect pattern. Could really go anywhere that your shoulder might be curious about. Feel as though you could lean back a little bit onto your right foot, using that right leg like a kickstand. We're going to take that left arm, big circle overhead to the floor. And you can flatten the hands and we'll come back into our downward facing dog. Bring the right foot in, take the hips back and up into the sky. Give it a moment to find your balance, steady your spacing. We'll go directly to our plank pose and the left knee to the floor. You can certainly look at that left thigh, measuring it perpendicular, straight and right angle up and down. The right hand to your hip, your left hand could be a fist. Your right arm to the sky, Open up through the chest. You could look up and maybe tracing that figure eight on the ceiling, writing the name of your best friend with your fingertips in the sky. It's okay if it's your dog. Nobody, nobody's gonna, nobody's gonna say anything about that. Good. Your left foot like a kickstand, and that right arm's gonna make a big circle overhead, all the way down, downward facing dog, and we'll come back. Take the hips up high. Give it a moment. Even out the feet. Good. So plank pose, and we'll lower down, knees and hips to the ground. Take your time as you lower the abdomen. Keep your palms near the ribs. We'll point the toes. Look down at the floor. Swing the elbows a little bit closer into your body and lifting the chest to our cobra pose. We're going to take a deep breath in, lifting just a tiny bit higher. And then exhale, come all the way down to the floor, lowering even your forehead to the floor. So tuck the chin a little bit. Lift your hands half an inch off the ground and hug your elbows into the floor, or into your ribs, excuse me. I was getting ahead of myself. Press the tops of your feet into the floor. And when you press the tops of your feet, feel how strong the thighs can be. Now, before you lower your hands, lift your head and lift your chest. Try to use those back muscles as much as you can, and then the hands come to the rescue. Big breath in as you lift just a little bit higher, and then we'll exhale, lower all the way down, and we'll do that all just one more time. Lift the hands a little bit off the ground, firm the thighs to press the tops of your feet into the floor. Lift your head, lift your chest, keep breathing, lower the hands, lift a little higher with a big breath in. You can look forward, keep the length to the back of your neck, and we'll lower everything to the ground. Downward facing dog, we're gonna curl the toes, lift up from your knees, rock your hips back to distribute that pressure, and then use the legs to rise up. We're gonna walk forward slow motion style, tiptoe your feet up to your hands, walk your hands lightly back to your feet, and we'll hang out in our forward bend, giving the wrists a little extra love here, twirling around just an inch off the floor. Let your arms hang heavy from the shoulders. And just like your ankles, you might notice that your wrists are twirling opposite each other. And when you ask them to reverse their circle, they just do it. They don't even argue. They just say, okay, we'll go that way. Feels good. I like it. Give it a moment, one more breath. Now, something we don't often do, which is roll to standing. So it's extra important here that you bend your knees and keep the pressure into your heels. Your arms are heavy like they're holding bowling ball suitcases, and you're gonna roll up slowly. And again, keep the knees bent until that very last moment when your head lifts. All right, the shoulders are gonna roll up and back. Chest is gonna rise as you slowly lift your chin. And once you find yourself standing, legs straight. Good. Now we're gonna shrug the shoulders up and push them forward and down. And we're just gonna do this a couple times more. Up and forward and down. And this is giving us overall that cat pose, that kind of rounded back. So the next time your shoulders are up by your ears, we're gonna pause, breaking all the rules, right? Pull the shoulders back and down, and then we'll circle forward and up. So making a few more circles, going around and under, lifting up and back. And this is more of that cow pose, right? Opening through the heart. So naturally you wanna lift your chin as the heart rises. And just one more time, up and around. And then we'll lift the arms forward, hook your thumbs together. So again, like you're making one of those shadow birds. And your palms, as you look at them, are mimicking or mirroring your shoulder blades. So what I want you to feel that as you lift your arms up, keep your elbows straight, bring your arms a little bit behind you. And as the arms go farther back, it creates a kind of lever with the shoulder blades, pressing the heart forward. Now we're gonna lower the arms forward and bend the knees a lot so we can round all the way down and touch the toes. Keep your knees bent. You're gonna rise straight up. Raise the arms, lift your chin, your knuckles go back and the chest goes forward. Take a big breath in. Bend your knees a lot. You're gonna round it down. Exhaling, your fingers touch your toes. Let's do two more together. Inhale to come all the way up. The last impulse is the shoulder blades push the heart forward, and we exhale coming all the way down. If you need to add a breath, by all means, add an extra breath. Right? If you need to pause, by all means, pause. The next time you're lifted fully, we're going to stay upright and separate the thumbs. Take your arms behind you. Now, it's helpful to look down at your feet while you join your hands together. You could interlace the fingers, or if you hook the thumbs, switch which thumb is in charge. Straighten your elbows as you reach the fingers to the floor. We're going to lift the chin. Bend both of your knees, a little bit of chair pose, and then folding forward. You can lower your forehead toward your shins. Fingertips, knuckles into the air, relaxing your jaw. So here we think about the shoulder blades sliding away from their lower position up toward the back of your neck, almost as if they could touch the back of your head. Bring your arms carefully to your body. Keep your hands connected. We're going to stand up. Keep a little bend in the knees, or maybe a lot of a bend in the knees. And once you're standing, let the arms go. Let's circle the arms wide and up. Full breath in, just looking up. Remain standing as you lower your arms. Exhale and look down at the floor. Circle the arms right back up. Inhale, spread your fingers wide. When you exhale, squeeze your hands into fists and just looking down at the floor. You could tap your knuckles together. Open up, fingers bright, palms wide. Notice there's strength here. Right? Likewise, power here as you flex the hands, strong in the chest. Superhero flex. We'll do one more in flow. The next time that you're lifted, grab hold of that right wrist. Take it higher, up and over to your left. Your hips can pop out to the right. Inhale through the center, switch the arms. Take it over to the right. Your hips can pop out a little to the left. Keep breathing. We'll inhale to the middle. Take your arms wide as you fold. Big swan dive will come all the way down to the floor. Please take a big step with your left foot for the back of your mat. Keep your right foot where it is. Put your left knee right down onto the floor. Staying light here on the fingertips. Your left hand could go flat or make a fist. Your right hand to your thigh, and we're going to twist. Slowly turn to look up, and that right arm is going to reach for the ceiling. They're beautiful poses, you all. Open the throat, relax the jaw, give it one more big breath in. Exhale your right hand to the floor. We're stepping forward from here. So as you curl the toes, find your fingertips, lifting the knee and stepping forward. Left foot meets the right foot. We're going to bring the hands onto the shins, coming halfway up. We call this monkey pose, Ardha Uttanasana, more traditionally. Lower the fingers to the ground and step the right foot back. So low lunge. I like to keep the toes tucked on the back foot. You can make a change if you prefer. The palm could go flat. The right hand could be a fist. Your left hand to your knee, one step at a time as you take it up to the sky. See if you can feel a little bit of strength in your front foot pressing down, almost as if it could then pull back, like you were going to use that left foot to drag the pose forward. Full breath in. We'll exhale to lower that left hand. And take a moment to find your balance on the fingertips and look forward. Lifting the right knee, you can also straighten your left leg to distribute the pressure and then rock forward as you transfer the pressure, stepping the right foot to meet the left foot. Hands to your shins again, just halfway up. I find it helps a lot to bend the knees with a full breath in here, and then your exhalation will lower you down. Now standing up, circle the arms, wide reach as you inhale all the way to standing. We'll bring the hands together and exhale them to the heart. Let your arms go behind you. Look down while you join the hands. Any of the grips we had earlier, knuckles toward the floor will lift the heart. Big breath in to bend the knees, and then exhale your fold forward. Arms away from your body and into the sky. Relax your jaw. Give it a full breath in.
Exhale your arms to your body first, and then release them down to the floor. Hands to your shins, halfway up on the front. Big breath into your tabletop. Exhale, step your left foot only. Put your knee down onto the floor. We're going to walk both hands to that right thigh. Good. Once you got the balance, shoulders over the hips. Keep the pressure forward, that front knee above your ankle, arms behind your back. Interlacing fingers or hooking your thumbs, opening up through the chest. You can just look up here. It's wonderful. The balance is plenty of a challenge. If you want a little bit more, you're going to fold forward, lower your shoulder on top of your thigh, and you could bring your knuckles up into the air. They don't have to go very high though. Keep breathing, and same as before, that front foot is pressing down as if it could slide back. Lower your arms first to your body, then release your fingers to the floor. Now, stepping forward is a big deal. So when you lift your left knee, you can straighten the right leg and then transfer the pressure forward into that front foot as you step forward. Monkey pose, Ardha Uttanasana, big breath in, just halfway up. Your right foot will step back and lower that knee. Again, take it one step at a time. If you know where you're going, wonderful. You can always follow what you remember. Arms behind you when you're ready. And some of you are already making a choice to switch the grip of which hand is in charge. Open the heart. And again, this is a wonderful place to be. Already that front foot could press down and pull back. Lower your shoulder on top of your thigh. So the thigh becomes a kind of shelf for the chest, for that shoulder. And yes, that does limit things, but it also keeps us safe. And it asks us a little bit more to stay true to the balance on the midline. So in some ways, more challenging. Big breath in. Use your exhalation to lower your hands and then release the fingers to the floor. Stepping forward, we're lifting the right knee, lifting the hips. You might shift them back for a second and then pounce forward. Hands to your shins, come up halfway, feel the length. Exhale to dive into your fold, and then we'll stand all the way up. Big circle to the arms, and we'll bring the hands together and down to the heart. So let it rest for a moment. All right, we're going to separate the feet just a touch. You can keep them parallel. Goddess pose to the arms here. So we take the elbows out at 90 degrees, and you could level with the armpits here. Thumbs pointing in at your ears. You're welcome to check out your position as I am showing you here. And then what we're going to do is try to level the forearms parallel with the floor, keeping the elbows even with the shoulders, because the elbows will go kind of up and down. And then again, keep the elbows even with the shoulders, point your fingers at the floor. This is the really awkward one because everything rounds and the shoulders push forward. Let that happen. You can even look at the floor because it's almost like what the shoulders are asking you to do. So spread your fingers and really focus on the backs of your hands, again, connected to your shoulder blades. Bring your forearms parallel with the floor. Keep your elbows even with your armpits. Raise your forearms vertical where you started. Tip your forearms backwards. Feel the shoulder blades raise the heart. Some of you might feel the need to squeeze the shoulder blades together to really prop up the sternum. Fan your forearms forward to point all the way down at the floor. Look down at your toes. Raise your forearms. Keep your elbows out from your shoulders as you tip your fingertips back. Look up. Roll them forward one more time. It's cat pose. Shoulders push near the neck. Raise your palms, spread your fingers, push the knuckles back. The elbows kind of pivot forward, but the shoulder blades are the key. All the way down to your fold, you're going to bend your knees, take your hands to the floor. Release your jaw, relax your head, give it just a breath. Now walking your fingers around to the right of your yoga. Bend your left knee, straighten your right leg. Walking your fingers around to the left side of your yoga mat. Your hips can swing a little bit to the right as you bend your right knee and straighten your left leg. So return to the center, hands to your shins, come up halfway. We're going to step the left foot back into our warrior one position. So turn the left Straighten your right leg. Bring your arms out into goddess pose, elbows across from the chest, even with the shoulders. Point your fingers forward, pivoting down, just look down at the floor. Good. Raise your forearms. Use your knuckles, your forearms push back as you find the shoulder blades lifting the heart. Good. Now we're going to turn to the left and straighten the arms. And as you extend the fingers out, the palms are facing downward. Lean to your left. We're going to take it backwards. Your left hand light to your thigh, that right arm long to the ceiling. And both legs strong and straight. We'll come up to the center. Big breath in and pause. Draw the hips a little bit underneath you. That right arm is going to tilt out and over. Little teapot style, your fingers to your ankle. And of course, you could find your balance here in triangle as you're breathing, looking to the side wall or up at your left hand. Both feet are strong. A tiny bend in your right knee, that front leg, could go a long way, really sourcing the power in your hips. Just like we practiced in our side angle, our side plank, that left arm is going to make a big circle all the way to the floor. And we're stepping forward. So come off of the back heel, swing and shift the pressure to the front, hands to your shins when you get there. Big breath in. Step your right foot back as you exhale. And this is warrior one. So nice healthy distance, that heel to the floor, arms up and overhead. So a moment here to balance, facing straight ahead. And you could think about squaring the shoulders with the wall in front of you, but let the hips be open here, especially while that front knee is bent. Straightening your left leg, we'll take the arms out to goddess. And it's just one time, fingers nice and bright, little squeeze already between the shoulder blades, point the fingers forward and down, and you'll look down. But you almost can't help it, right? The shoulders are in charge. Raise the forearms, keep the elbows even with your armpits. Knuckles back, chest high, shoulder blades are in charge. Really drive the strength into your right foot. One more breath. We're going to turn to the right and straighten the arms. Right, palms turn down, take a second to organize the balance. Lean backwards, your right hand to your thigh. You can reach straight up, you might look down. Feeling active through the legs. Sense that you could guide the breath through your body. Rising up carefully, the arms out level. We're going into our triangle, your left hand reaching out through space. Take your fingers to your ankle, your right arm to the sky. You can turn to look to the side wall or up at your thumb. Beautiful, great catch. That left knee can bend just a tiny bit, right? And you feel when you bend that left knee, a little bit more pressure in the heel, a little bit more power to the groin. One more breath. We're going to take that right arm in a big circle way overhead to the floor. And yes, we're stepping forward. That right heel is going to lift. Maybe there's a little hop step to get you there. Hands to your shins. Full breath in. Exhale, diving into the fold, and we'll stand all the way up. Big breath in to reach for the sky. Hands together and down to your heart. And bringing your arms behind your back. I'm going to give you some options here. You can interlace your fingers. You could reach across for your opposite elbow or your opposite wrist, something like this. Some of you are going to be able to bring your hands into the reverse prayer position. And this is a meager attempt I'm showing you because ideally your fingers are up here between your shoulder blades and you're allowed to laugh. But that's serious business for your shoulders. So please be gentle, whatever you have going on here. Deepest bend to your knees before you fold, right? Now we are staying standing, but as you start to lean forward, things get really serious in the shoulders. So please be gentle, relax your jaw. You don't have to stay down if it feels like it's too much. We are going to be standing up in just 2 breaths. You can, of course, straighten your legs. You know, I always err on the side of caution in telling you to bend your knees. You can, of course, lean a little bit of pressure into your toes. I always err on the side of caution, keeping the pressure in the heels. Roll the shoulders back as you lift the chest, standing slowly. Good. Take a moment when you let go of your arms just to close your eyes and feel those are your shoulders, Send them love and kind thoughts. Eyes open. We're going to separate the feet toward the edges of the mat. We'll get into some squats here. I wanted to offer one more little hand position. Starting from the prayer position, we're going to open the palms to where the thumb and the pointer finger stay together. So you're making this kind of triangle. And then when you bring your palms together, bring your elbows together. And then we'll raise the arms up to make our triangle overhead. And then bring your elbows back together, coming down to the chest. And you're going to feel the upper back, the shoulder blades separate. So we'll come up on the inhalation. Elbows can stay bent or you could extend them. When you bring them back down, try to bring them all the way together. Now, big breath in as you lift again. When you exhale, you're going to add the squat. Halfway down, butt parallel with the floor, more or less. And then we inhale to come up. And we're just going to do about 100 of these. So, sorry, I have to make that joke. And, we'll really just, maybe 10 or so. But you can deepen the squat, right? If you want to go farther down to the floor, just make sure you can come back up. The heels stay down because that's our primary point of pressure. You can always separate the feet or bring them closer together so you're able to keep the feet flat. Again, look up when you inhale and lift, and you might try to keep that for as long as possible. At a certain threshold, the hips kind of have to tuck under, right? So make sure to strengthen through the lower back as you come up again. And yeah, just a few more, You can be done. I totally hear you. If you're like, this was good, but it's the end of the day and tired. I hear you, right? We'll lower the hands one at a time to the floor behind and lowering down. You can roll a few times. We are going to stay sitting though. So if you want to roll back and forth, it's a lot of fun. It feels great as long as there are no injuries. And we'll meet sitting in our butterfly pose. So the feet together and the knees out wide. Again, Baddha Konasana from the sitting position, the hands to the ankles. Rock side to side, please, just nice and lightly like a little paper boat. And then keep rocking. We're going to lean forward. And as you're leaning forward, notice if your hips start to migrate backwards. And if they do, let them do that. And then you can slow the rocking down because they'll stop at some point. And your head lowers down toward your feet. And if you're happy here, you're welcome to stay here. If you're like, I don't know what you just did to me, Thomas, but I'd rather have my heels closer to my hips, you can go back there. But again, we're thinking about the breath, massaging the organs from the inside out, and at the same time, keeping enough room in the chest, length for the actual lungs to expand. When we talk about the breath in the belly, that's a kind of secondary element to the movement of the diaphragm. We want to make sure the lungs themselves can fully inflate whenever they are able. Just a couple more breaths. And let your inhalation help you to rise. Lift up very carefully. The hands sliding to the knees to bring them together. Good. We're going to lie back here, making sure there's room for your head on the mat behind you. We'll bring the knees into the chest. Rocking carefully from side to side. When lowering your left foot down to the floor, please grab hold of the back of your right thigh. We're going to straighten and bend that right leg, going up and down just a few times. For now, please flex your ankles so the heel is pushing up toward the ceiling, especially when you've got your legs straight. And the next time you've got your knee bent, I want you to cross that right ankle over your left thigh. Bring both of your hands to your thigh bones, and very gently, you're going to apply some pressure. So the hands pushing against the thighs in the forward direction. So parallel with the floor on that horizontal plane. And as you're applying that pressure, moving your pelvis in a cat and cow fashion. And you might notice that your lower back is also flattening and arching a little bit as you put your hips in motion. And for some of us, we can apply this pressure with the hands and the thighs and feel a little bit of traction through the pelvis. If there's nothing, special happening, that's wonderful too, actually. It means everything's in the right spot there. And we'll relax our efforts here and then lift that left foot. Your right hand can slide through that window to grab your left leg from behind, or you can reach over top with your left hand grabbing your knee, and maybe your right hand grabs that left wrist somehow. Another option from here is to reach underneath and maybe try to interlace the fingers around the thighs, around the hips. Placing your head back on the floor, or if necessary, a block or a blanket, so that you can relax your neck and your jaw. To that end, you might actually bring your jawbone a little bit closer to your throat. The back of your neck has a little bit more length. I'm always giving you the cue here to shift a little bit to your left. Just a tiny little tilt might really turn some lights on in places that haven't been illuminated recently. If you think of your body, it's like a house. Sometimes there's like rooms that you just don't go into sometimes. And you're like, oh, this counter is dusty. No, and that's all of us. No offense, right? The left foot down to the ground. And with your left foot on the floor, straighten that right leg to the ceiling once again, and grab hold of your thigh. Give that right ankle a little twirl. And then reversing that rotation, going the other direction. We'll bring the right knee to your chest. Straighten your left leg about 45 degrees into the air. We're flexing both feet here for a moment. Raise your head, lift your shoulders, and looking straight down the middle of your body. And with both of the ankles flexed here, keeping the lower back fairly flat, breathing naturally. Your arms can reach forward. That right arm stays outside of your thigh. You could lower your left leg closer to the floor for more of a challenge. And if you really want to challenge yourself, arms behind your ears, going overhead. So 2 more breaths. And again, still trying to keep that lower back flat to the floor. Great effort, everybody. Your hands to your shin, lower your left leg straight down on your midline, even with your belly button, your shoulders and head to the floor. Release your right arm off to the side, rotating. That right leg comes across your body over to the left. And for safety's sake, you could keep that right foot on your inner thigh. If you're throwing caution to the wind today, you could put your right foot on the floor. And keeping your shoulders on the ground, let the chest rise a little bit. Even still, your right shoulder and your right knee might be a little bit like a teeter-totter. You can play around with the tilting on either side, still staying true to that spinal axis. Your left hand can help you to scoop up your leg, and when you're ready, inhaling to unwind, lifting that right leg and rolling onto your back. We'll bring both of the knees to the chest, your head to your knees for just a moment. And as you rock a little bit side to side, finding your center space, the balance and your equilibrium. Your right foot will go to the floor, your left leg to the ceiling, grabbing the back of your thigh. And for now, putting your head on the floor, straightening and bending that left knee. It's going up and down a few times, and here with the ankle flexed, nice and strong. as you push up through the heel. And you can certainly try to extend your knee all the way to get a little bit more through the hamstring. And the next time you've got your knee bent, you're going to swing that calf or that ankle across your right thigh. And before we lift that right foot, both of the hands go to the thigh bones, and we're going to apply pressure. So your left hand is on your inner thigh, and the right hand is on what we'd call the front of the thigh. The wrists closer to the hip joint than maybe the knees. And as you apply that forward pressure, a little bit of internal cat and cow. One thing you might be curious about is, is it okay for the shoulders to crowd the ears? And in this case, yes, it's worth it to really straighten the elbows and apply that firm and steady pressure, really solid, as you try to find that little traction release. You say, okay, I got it. I'm good. Right foot lifting when you're ready. That left hand can slide through the window, grabbing hold of your right thigh. And as you draw it in, your left elbow could press against your left thigh. If you're reaching over top, right hand grabbing your knee. If you're reaching underneath, these are all wonderful options. And I apologize, I didn't mention on the other side, but that right leg, in this case, that leg that you're holding on to can do most of the work. Your arms, in some days, don't even feel like they're necessary. Just a tiny lean to your right side might make all the difference. Another breath or two. If you found yoga gold here, don't let me rush you, okay? You're in that spot, you're like, I could live in this stretch. That's the gold. The hands releasing carefully your right foot to the ground. Your left leg up to the ceiling, grabbing hold of your thigh. Giving that ankle a little twirl. Yeah, this way and that. And you don't even have to ask twice. It just goes. Relax the twirling to bend the knee. Bring your head towards your knee. Straighten your right leg about 45 degrees. Flexing both of the ankles. You can stay here. Wonderful. Your lower back is flat. Both arms straight ahead or both arms behind you. And again, you could lower that right leg just a few inches. Breathing, right? So important. That's your fuel. It's so valuable. Good. Bring your hands to your knee. Lower your right leg, setting up your twist. Carefully put your head down. Your left arm rolling out to the side, your left leg across your body. And again, that left knee and left shoulder could teeter-totter. Keeping the shoulders low, chest high. Give it one more breath. Your right hand can scoop up your knee. Your inhalation to roll you to your back. Knees to your chest, head to your knees. And we'll close here with our happy baby. You can open up knees toward the shoulders, setting a right angle at the back of the knees. If holding the toes doesn't work so well, grabbing the heels or the ankles around the thighs. And of course, you're welcome to straighten your legs. And it might be a little kinder to grab hold of the calves or the ankles if you're holding the toes, but do what feels good. A little goo goo gaga rocking, always pleasant. I find. And you're welcome to stay a few more breaths. But if you've seen what you came to see, we'll meet you in Shavasana. Um, As you return from your happy baby pose, check in with the back of your neck and make sure everything is feeling good there. You could come full circle to where we started with the knees together, the feet set apart, that crooked corpse pose variation, or more traditionally, the legs are extended, the heels to the corners of the mat, your arms to the side, and the palms are facing upwards. So take your time getting there, and of course, propping yourself up with any blankets or cushions. You're always welcome to sit in meditation. Just a few times when you inhale, open the palms and spread your fingers. When you exhale, making your hands into fists. And you might do just one more cycle, letting the last thing you do be the open hand expression. And having a sense of the hands from the inside out. Again, you would confirm those are my hands. That's what my fingers feel like. And we could extend that awareness to the rest of the body, having opened and closed all these various areas through the different postures, a sense of your whole body, that living quality to each and every cell, feeling your entire being alive and very much relaxed, deeply at rest. allowing your body to remain still, returning your awareness to your breathing. Allow yourself to observe if you're returning from somewhere far away, mentally speaking. Take your time connecting to your breath, the feeling of your body, and its place in space. Sensing the floor, connecting to the ground, feeling for the walls, the ceiling, the air, and the beautiful sky up above, almost the full moon. Expanding your inhalations and strengthening your exhalations, little by little, bringing your breath to the front of your awareness. Imagine your breath expanding to flow through your legs and help wiggle your toes, breathing through your arms into your hands and bringing movement to your fingers. Notice an element of the stillness that remains, letting your head gently rock from side to side and feeling the earlier movement in contrast. If it feels right, extending your arms overhead, big wake up stretch, and moving in slow motion and taking your time. You could climb an imaginary ladder, right arm, left arm, alternating. Doing what feels good, and we'll bring the knees to the chest and give the legs a hug once more. Stepping the feet in one at a time, you can rock a little bit side to side. And over the next few breaths, we'll make our way to sitting. You can roll to one side using that fetal position as a transition space, or grabbing hold of the thighs and rocking front to back like we've done a few times. Whichever method suits you. We'll sit with the hands together at the heart in a closing gesture, sealing in the practice. Anything that occurred to you during the practice or was of benefit, you can acknowledge and carry with you. Additionally, we recognize within ourselves and within one another that which is peace, that is joy, that is love, and that is light, residing inside of this space with both the knowledge and the experience that we are one with all things. And to that light, we bow. Namaste. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you all so very much. Thank you, thank you. Please take your time if you have any questions. Friends at home, thank you. If you have any questions, let me know. And have a beautiful rest of your evening. Happy spring. It's light out. It's light out. It's light out.